That any questions, anything that you had, that you were thinking about during sort of the course of the breaks? Now's your opportunity to just bombard them with questions. So, who will be opening the floor? Who'll go first? First question. Okay, let's start with the second question.
I just have one. Possibly missed it because I came in a bit late this morning, so maybe you already discussed it. It's regarding the profile mechanics. Sometimes when I start up the profiler, it asks for the sampled versus the instrumented profile. So I was just wondering what the instrumented refers to if it's not the sampling.
Okay.
Was that the get stack trace call-based one?
So you're talking about JVisual VM, right?
Yeah.
JVisual VM has two profilers effectively packed into one. You have sampling, which takes a sample every however many milliseconds you set it up to, etc. And then you have the instrumenting one, which will reload all the classes, bytecode, manipulate them to inject calls into nanotime or client time millis. I don't know exactly what they inject, and then collect all that data. And what you'll see if you look at your application while you're doing it is that it stops for a really long time when you hook that up, and then it runs really slowly afterwards.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say tracing is just generally a broken method.
Okay.
But if you implement it naively, things can go very wrong very quickly. What different sort of tracing profilers do is either do several runs with the same application and then tune the depth of the probing according to whatever methods seem trivial. Or alternatively, they do it dynamically. But the difference in the approaches is sampling will only, is basically statistically trying to approximate what your application is doing versus tracing that adds a constant overhead to everything you do, but catches everything.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You were talking about C1 and C2 compilers. You said that the C1 is not good quality, but you didn't explain exactly why.
So for a compiler, good quality, it translates to several metrics, but mostly is how fast is the resulting code. And C1 was designed as a client machine sort of compiler, so it was designed for running short-living applications where you want to get reasonable performance very, very quickly, but you don't want to spend all your time compiling because it's not going to last forever. So that's the balance that was struck in the client compiler. The C2 compiler will take longer to compile. Generally, the default, for instance, for C1, after 1,000 times that a method is called, it'll get compiled into a C1 method. And then another 10,000 calls to that method will result in it getting compiled into a C2 method. These things sort of changed a little bit with Java 8 because the compiler is now a tiered compilation. So there's actually, I think, two variations or three sort of stages of C1 you can have, but the distinction sort of still remains.
Sorry, just as an addition to that, does the C1, C2 also, in a sense, refer to the client and server switches for the Java process? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Just to follow up, can I force my compiler to use C2?
Yes, you can sort of force your so Java 7, if you had the server compiler, then that's the compiler you're using. But then up to that point, your code would be rather slow. Tiered compilation goes from interpreter to C1 to C2. I'm sort of confused now because I've been working on Zing for 2 years, and we have a tiered compilation that we've had all along, so I can't remember if Java 7 also goes through the client before it hits the server compiler or just goes straight into the server compiler. What a lot of people sort of think they want is ahead of time compilation, so they want everything compiled by the C2 compiler. That's usually not a good idea for two reasons. One is that it'll take a very long time for everything to get compiled because the JVM doesn't persist those results. Let's say it did. Let's say everything got compiled and you got a binary like you do with C. The beauty of what the JVM does with your code is that it profiles it before it compiles it. So if your method, for instance, never gets called with a value that's null, and you have a null check at the beginning of your method, that null check is going to get thrown away. The JVM will still catch an exception and have to de-optimize your code if anybody ever calls it with a null afterwards. But it does a lot of optimizations based on the profile it collects. So if you told the JVM to compile everything after you call it once, you'll spend a lot of time at startup compiling everything, and you'll generally not get very good quality results.
Next question? Okay. How about we do this? Why didn't you guys ask the audience a question? Might as well do that. We got 10 minutes spare. Whoever gets it right wins a t-shirt, yeah? Yes? No? Yeah.
I think we gave all the t-shirts in our way. If you give me and later on we give those.
Yeah. We can give there's a few nice laptops here.
Okay, look, we're not going to draw this out any longer. I firstly and foremost, I want to thank the speakers. So if you can give them a round of applause for It's going to be an emotional time. I have to say goodbye. 2 days. Guys, this is pretty much the start of a I can't even call it a revolution. But it's the start of something to happen, especially within Cape Town. I had a meeting this afternoon, thanks to Vishal, with the guys from Allen Gray. They are very keen to not only get their developers, I think they've got about 50 devs there. I know the guys in Standard Bank, that's got such a lot of things to offer. I want to thank Shauna and Michelle at the back there from Standard Bank for really supporting and coming all the way from Johannesburg just to support the devs. So there's a lot of people behind the scenes that supports the devs, whether it being your managers. I know a few people say fire the managers, but they actually do have a worthy cause. And also IBM, Amazon, all our sponsors, Dynatrace. And thanks you guys, really taking up your time these 2 days being away from work. I'm sure you probably had a load of emails and calls to attend to, but thanks a lot. This would probably, this is definitely going to be an annual thing. We'd love to be able to go out to Johannesburg. We don't know where it is yet. We just want to, take some time, just to relax. But thanks again, and guys, safe journey. Please join us for a drink. Let's have some more chats. Just final minutes of your geek day, yeah, stay connected. Stay within the forums. Join the meetup, Cape Town Java meetup group. It's alive and kicking. So thank you very much, guys. Cheers.